Okay, so we're up to the Mishnah on Daf Yud Aleph Amid Beis. The Mishnah on Daf Yud Aleph Amid Beis. As a Hakdama, we've been exposed to Pigel a tremendous amount of time through Shas, particularly in Zvachim. And Pigel presents itself in one of two ways. It has to be either in the Achilas Mizbeach, which is the Srika, or the Achilas Adam, which is in the Basar. And in that, it presents itself in two ways. In that, it presents itself in two ways. Either the machshava is chutz l'makom, or the machshava is to do one of those two achilas chutz l'zman. Chutz l'makom is pasels the carbon ve'ein by karis. Chutz l'zman is pasel and has karis. This is guys. This is aleph base. In addition, if a pigel to work, it's got to be the only game in town. Meaning, the only thing wrong with that carbon is your machshava of pigel. Thus, if I go ahead and I do again, it's in one of the Kabbalahs by a blood carbon. It's in the Shchita, the Kabbalah, the Halacha, or the Srika. In a Mincha, it's the Machshava in one of four places, either in the Kmitza, which is tantamount to Shchita, in the Nesinas Kli, which is tantamount to Kabbalah, the Halacha, or the burning of the emurim, of burning of the kaimitz, which is equal to the zrika. So if I have hamachshava to eat or burn, again, eating is the shirayim, burning is the achilas mizbeach. With the machshava of chutz l'makom, it'd be pasal in bakaris. Chutz l'zman, it would be pasal v'yesh bakaris. So that's the basic din of the Mishnah. The Mishnah extends till Yud Beis. Then we get into a piece of Gemara, which we're going to find very difficult, because I find it very difficult. Let's see the Gemara start the Mishnah on Yud Aleph on the base. HaKaimitz is mincha. Again, that's the same thing as shechting. Lechol shirecha b'chutz, to eat its shirayim b'chutz, that's like the basar. Or kizayis mishirecha b'chutz, or to eat a kiz.
You went to Costco the last time. I spoke to him now. He's gonna let me know.
Okay, I wonder who that was, but I wonder, but I'm not going to interested in finding out. Okay, so now they have so this would be achilas basar. That's the burning of, that's the eating of the, to eat the shirer, chutz, right? Or even kazayas of the shirayim, kazayas of basar. Lahakta kumtza b'chutz. This is the to burn the kaimitz b'chutz is equal to the zrika of the dam carbon. Like kazayis kumtza b'chutz. Oy lahakta levaynasa b'chutz. Again, in addition to the mincha, there's also a possibility of machshav in levayna. Lahakta levaynasa b'chutz pasel vein by kars. Lechol shireha l'machar, to eat the shirayim the next day. Right now, this is chutz l'zman. Oikazayis mishireha l'machar, eat the next day. Lahakta kumsa l'machar, this is the achilas mizbeach. Oikazayis mikumsa l'machar. Oilahakta, now, oilahakta kumsa l'machar, pigel v'chayam l'kars. In all these cases, you be chayav kars for pigel, because again, this is the machshava chutz l'zman. And the machshava was in achilas adam, the shirayim, or achilas mizbeach, the burning of the kaimitz. Good. Zeh klal, kol kaimitz aynosim bekli. Anyone who does kamitza. So again, until now we've been discussing the first avodah. Aynosim bekli, that's the Kabbalah. Hamaylich, that's the halacha. Hamaktir, that's the zrika. In this case, again, these are the four equivalents. This is the Makdir is equivalent to the Srika. Lechol davar shedaka lechol, to eat something that you normally eat, right? That's normally eaten. Or lahakdir davar shedaka lahakdir. So in other words, it can't be burning basar and it can't be eating a murim. It's got to be burning a murim and eating basar. Chutzlam kaimai, if the machshav is chutzlam kaimai, pasal vein bakaris. Chutzlas manai, pigel v'chayav makaris. And all of this is contingent upon u'bavad sheyakriv hamata k'mitzvasai, that nothing else is wrong with the carbon. The only machshava you have is the machshava of pigel. If you have any other machshava at the time, it's not going to work. So ketzad, karv hamatim kitzos. Like how? What would the example be of being makir of the carbon, the makir of the carbon kimitzvos? Like what would that example be? Right. Okay. In Asin, we're on Yud Beis Amid Aleph, about the quarter of the way down. And we're going up to by Pigel by being Korav Mata Kimitzvasle, doing it the right way. Ketzad, what? We're saying about 5 lines down. Ketzad Korav Hamatzal Kimitzvasle, Kamatz Bishtika, you did the Kimitza Bishtika, Nasam Bekli Vahoylach Makta Chutzlas Manai, right? And then you put it in the Kli, and you or you walked it over, or you burnt it with the machshav of chutzlas manai. So you know you did everything well except one thing, and that one thing you had machshav of chutzlas manai, or shekamatz chutzlas manai, or in the first avodah, the kemitza, you had machshav of chutzlas manai, and then nasam v'kli v'hoylech v'shtika, you did nothing, you did it the right way. Or you did kemitza, and then you put it in the cleave. This would be a case of doing it doing it the right way. In other words, the only machshava that I had over here was the machshava of chutz l'makam and chutz l'zman, but the other in all the other avodas, everything was fine. I didn't mix. I only had one machshava. It was either the machshava of chutz l'makam, chutz l'zman, and the rest of the matter was done correctly. Again, this guy says mirrors the Mishnah in Zvachim that discusses the dam. Mirrors the Mishnah. And we spent a tremendous amount of time on Pigel. Now, what about Kesad Loikar Matzach Mitzvah? So what would example be what? If you didn't do it correctly. Komatz Chutzlam Kaimai. Okay, so far. Nasam Bekli V'Halav Richte Chutzlas Manoi. There's your problem. What did you do? You mixed. You had a machshav of Pigel Chutzlas Manoi. And then instead of bringing it b'shtika, at this point in time, you had a kavanah of chutzlam kaimai. Or should come chutzlas manai and nasan pekli v'hikta chutzlam kaimai. Or should come and nasan pekli v'hoylach v'hikta chutzlam kaimai. Zesh lekar matak mitzvasai. You didn't do it right. Why? Because you mixed in another machshava. Aside from the machshava of pigel, you mixed in another machshava. Aside from the machshava of zman, you mixed in kaimai. Aside from the machshava kaima, you mixed in zman. That's not being mata mitzvah k'mitzvah. Good. That's not. Okay. Minchas chayta or minchas kenais shekomtzen shaloi l'shman. Again, this was equal to the chatas and the carbon pesach. That by svachim, if you went ahead and you were makar chutzes man, it's possible. So over here these are two karbonis that if you go ahead and you do shaloi l'shma would be possible. Shaloi l'shma. So you did a minchas chayte, minchas kenois. You did the kemitza shaloi l'shma. So guys, the carbon's out now, right? Once you did shaloi l'shma, it's out. And then nasim b'kli v'hoylech v'hikta chutzes manai. I should come at chutzes manai. Nasim b'kli v'hoylech v'hikta shaloi l'shman. So in other words, you mixed in the machshav of shaloi l'shman to pigel, and vice versa. This will be another example of not doing the matan kemitzvasai. Because why? You didn't do it the right way, right? You had a mixed in machshava. I should come to nasim b'kli v'hoylech v'hikta shaloi l'shma. Zeu shaloi kara matan kemitzvasai. Okay. Lechol kezayis b'chutz. To eat a kazayas bachutz. Now, this, guys, you're thinking in one avodah. Until now, we've been discussing where the machshava was in two different avodas. Here, the machshava is in one avodah. So, in the avodah of the kmitza, or in the avodah of the nesinas b'kli, or in the avodah of halacha, or in the avodah of haktara, you mixed in two machshavas. So, kazayas bachutz. First, you thought about I'm going to go ahead and be makta kazayas bachutz. And then in the same avodah, you said lemachar, I'm going to do it the next day. So you had the machshava, a mixed in machshava of chutz l'makom and chutz l'zman. Lemachar kezayis b'chutz, kechatzi zayis b'chutz, kechatzi zayis l'machar, kechatzi zayis l'machar, kechatzi zayis b'chutz, pasal ve'makaris. It's pasal ve'makaris. Why? Because again, you didn't do it. You messed it up. Rabbi Yehuda is that klau. Im machshava hazman kadol machshava samakoim. Yehuda is of the opinion, if you first had the machshava of zman, and then you had the machshava of makoim, it's still going to be pigel. If you had the machshava of mokoim and then the machshava of zman, it won't be pigel to be chayv karis. If my machshava of karis, of pigel, of zman came first, then you v'chayov karis. In machshavas hamokim kard the machshavas zman, pasul in karis, v'chacham moim zev zeh pasul in karis. It's pasul, there's no karis, even if you have the machshava of chutz zman first, because you weren't mata to mitzvah. If you look at Rashi, at the end of the Mishnah, Rashi tells you, bachutz, even though you thought initially the machshava chutzlas manoi, chatziu shniya midei karis. The machshava of mokaim will go ahead and extrapolate it from karis. However, Rabbi Yehuda Polag Tanakama, bein ba'avoida achas, bein b'shtei avodas. He argues, in other words, according to Rabbi Yehuda, guys, if you have the following, I have the machshava of zman in the kmitza, and the machshava of mokaim in the nesina, it's still bichai pigel. He argues not only in two, and he argues in one. He would argue that once the zman comes first, that's Rabbi Yehuda's shita. Okay, that's this the general Mishnah, and now I have to give you a lot of talking. And okay, now we saw earlier in the Masech the machloikis between Rabbi Yochanan and Reish Lakish, fellas. Everyone is masking if you do kemitza and you don't have the fully sarin, it's puzzle. That's called a mincha, that's chaser. A mincha that's chaser, b'shas kemitza, everyone holds its puzzle. What happens if I did the kemitza and then the shirayim was chaser? So I did the kemitza first and I had a fully sarin, and afterwards it got, okay. Machloikis Rabbi Yochanan and Reish Lakish. Says Reish Lakish, puzzle. The same way is by chemitza, if you chas, it's puzzle. Hu adin shirayim, if it's puzzle, if it's chaser, it's puzzle. Rabbi Yochanan's of the opinion, and this is the one we need. Rabbi Yochanan's of the opinion that if you did kemitza and it was full, and only the shirayim afterwards became chaser, then you can't eat it, but you could be makter it. You can burn the koimitz. You won't be able to eat the shirayim, but you can burn the koimitz. Guys, get clear? That's the shita of Rabbi Yochanan. Again, if you have it's chasa after the kemitza, you're missing shirayim, you're able to go ahead and burn it, albeit you can't go ahead and eat the shirayim. We had a machloikis, so we will have a machloikis between Rabbi Akiva and Rabbi Eliezer regarding basa that went outside. You have a carbon basa went outside, and then you did zrika on that carbon. Says Rabbi Akiva, despite the fact you have the psul yoitza, that machshava that you have, that if you have that the zrika, if you have, it's going to go ahead and create pigel, and also in addition, it will go ahead and take off me'ilah. So usually there's a din of me'ilah until the zrika. So you would think this yaitze went outside. You would think that forget about it. You can be moil behegdish forever. It was not shaykh pigel. Says Rabbi Akiva, the zrika helps in the Inyan creating pigel. The zrika helps the Inyan what? Now, it's helping for the rest of the carbon also, but the bus is outside. For that bus also, it's going to help. Good. Now, Rabbi Eliezer says, no, it's not going to matter. Now, here's the Gemara's Lam Shashayla. When over there by Rabbi Akiva, you did that zrika, that was a good zrika. That zrika was matering basa la'achila. It again, yaitz is psul yaitz. It's a different psul, but the etzem zrika it's going to be mata basa la'achila, right? The shaila over here is this again. This burning of the kaimitz is tantamount to zrika, yes. But there's something interesting about this burning of this kaimitz. It's not being matter shirayim lachila. That's usser. So the question is, on one side, you're allowing me to burn it. So if you're allowing to burn it, it's equal to a zrika. If it's equal to a zrika, it should create pigel and also take off me'ilah. On the other hand, it's not such a complete zrika, because usually zrika matters the basal achila, and in this case it's not because it's usser. I'll say it again. Here's the shaila. It's a lamdish shaila, but it's based upon two hakdamas. The first hakdama, you have Rabbi Yochanan Shita that you burn this kaimitz despite the fact it doesn't matter shirayim. And the second hakdama is the Shita of Rabbi Akiva and Rabbi Laza, the machlokes, if the zrika helps to psul yoitza to create pigel or take off meila. Rabbi Akiva says it does, Rabbi Laza says it doesn't. So now it's the Gemara Shaila. The Gemara Shaila is this Rika, which is not going to matter, does it help vis-a-vis Mila Pigel? Because on one hand, it's a Zrika. On the other hand, since it's not being matter la'achila, maybe not. We're going to have Machlokes Rav Huna and Rava. Rav Huna says it doesn't help. Rava is going to say it does help. And then Abaye is going to ask a kasha. Rava is going to go ahead and change his mind. So at the end of the day, no one's going to hold that if you go ahead and do a zrika for this mincha that the shirayim was chaser, it will not take off the meila. It will not go ahead and create pickle. Okay, it will not create pickle. Good. Says the Gemara Vaita. Iboilu l'divrei oimer shirayim shechasru ben kamitza lahaktara mak the kaimetz aleihem. Loit Rabbi Yochanan, who's of the opinion, that shirayim that was chasru, ben kamitza haktara, you do the haktara, right? Even though it's not going to matter. The kaimelon, the oisa shirayim asurim b'achila. So you're going to do the haktara, but it's like the zrika, but it's not going to accomplish anything vis-a-vis the carbon itself, right? That's by the carbon. So meaning it's not going to do what usually zrika does. Usually zrika matas achilas basa. This is not. Mao did this ani le haktara. Can this haktara possibly help lemekveinu bepigel to shaf a pigel in the shirayim ulafkinu midei meila and also take off the meal in shirayim? I can't eat it, but maybe if I would eat it, if I had a machshav of pigel, it would be pigel, and if I use it, I won't be moil. That's the kasha. Now, what's the tzadim of the shaila, fellas? The tzadim of the shaila is it a real zurika, and it will take off pigel, even though what you can't eat it, or no? Since it's limited in the fact that it's not a full zrika because it's not being mata basar. In this case, it's not being mata shirayim. Then what? It won't take off the pigel. It won't create pigel. It won't take off mila. Guys, you hear the shaila? Okay, good. Amar Afuna, I feel Rabbi Akiva, the Amar Zrika Mayelis Liyaitza, that Zrika would help for meat that went out. Hanimi Liyaitza, the Issa Be'ena. That's because the Yaitza, the meat is around. And therefore, Upasal Machmas Davracher. Guys, in the meat of basar, in the meat of basar, in this meat, is there an etzem psul, or the psul is its location? There's nothing wrong with the meat. It just happens to be in the wrong place. Memela, that's why Rabbi Akiva says the zrika can help for it, because in that there's nothing really wrong with it. Is there something wrong with this shirayim? Of course there is. It's chasa. It's missing. It's something innately in zich. In zich is a problem. So therefore, says Rav Huna, this rika, which would help by basa, v'yotzas, because the basa is nothing wrong with it. It's in the wrong place. Masha'en came over here, by this shirayim, innately there's something wrong with it. It's missing something. And therefore the zrika, which won't allow it to be eaten, will not go ahead and shaf pigel, will not take off meal. That's Rav Huna. Al v'chesarin, the psula the gufahu, but a chesarin that is psul guf, loy mahani le'aktar, it's not going to help. Amalei Rava says, Adarabba. I feel Rabbi Eliezer. The Amar ein zrika mayelis liyaitza. That zrika will not go ahead and take care of the meat. You know why? Hanimi liyaitza, the lesser bifnim. It won't help because it's outside. It has a problem. It's chutz liazara. Amal chesarin the isa bifnim. But here we're speaking about the shirayim that are inside. Guys, if the shirayim are outside, you got another problem. Zichar the shirayim has got to be inside. It's got to be inside. And therefore, since inside, the zrika will help for it, okay? The zrika will help for that. So again, that's the machlokes. So summarize, like Rav Huna, it doesn't help. Like Rav does help. The problem with the Gemara now is Rava. figuring out Rava. Okay, that's the problem. I have a chart from I don't know when. Unfortunately, I don't understand the chart, so it doesn't help. Yeah, but Nassan has the chart. Okay, Nassan has the chart. So we're gonna go through it. We're gonna go through it, and we'll see what we got. I'm gonna do it outside. I'm gonna do it outside. Okay, you have over here. The Mishnah said to burn the koimitz, right? Or a kazayas from the koimitz, right? If you haven't, pigel would be created if you burn the koimitz, or a kazayas from the koimitz would create pigel. Or to eat to eat the shirayim. No, this is speaking about achilas mizbeach, burning the koimitz. This is speaking about achilas adam, which is these are the two possibilities for pigel. It says lechol shireha kazayis mishira. That's our Mishnah. Good, that's our Mishnah. Reb Chia quotes our Mishnah and he leaves out something. Reb Chia, now remember, fellas, in this case over here, it wasn't only in the Kemitza, it was in the Hilacha, it was the Matan Kli, the Hilacha, it was in everything. It was the Matan Kli, the Hilacha, and the Haktara, right? It was, you did there's the four avoiders. So this just happened to be the Kemitza part. In the Kemitza part, you have one of these machshavas. Reb Chia, he brings in the Mishnah, but he leaves out something. He says, you koimitz the mincha to eat it shirayim. You do kemitza to eat it shirayim. But he leaves out the kezayis mishirayim. He says, I'm doing kemitza on alminas to eat shirayim bachutz. He doesn't give out the case of the koimitza mincha lechol es kezayis mishirecha. He leaves that out. Good? He leaves that out. He leaves out this case, guys. He leaves out Kazayas Mishireha. He leaves it out. He leaves out 2b. He leaves it out. Good? Now, why does he leave it out? That's Rava is going to say he leaves it out for the following reason. There's a possibility, Kazayas Mishireha, that all you have is the Kazayas. In other words, there's two possibilities. I had a lot and a Kazayas is missing, or I don't have, all I have is Kazayas. All I have is Kazayas. Now, in the case of to bring it, to burn it, or to put it in a kli, you can't only have a Kazayas left in Shirayim. If that's the only game in town, I only have a Shirayim left, that means my koimitz that I did was chaser. I'm missing, in other words, if I did the Kemitza and then afterwards I lost, I can understand because I did the Kemitza, everything was in play. I had a fully sarin and it only became late afterwards. But if it's speaking, there wasn't a fully sarin to begin with, then it's a non-starter because that's a Kemitz that's chaser before the Kemitza. That's a mincha abbas chaser. So it must be, here's the key, it must be speaking. Right? If you are chayef v'haylacha, it must be that you did have shirayim, and you're left with kazayas. So therefore, it must be what happened that between the kamitza and between the kamitza and bringing of the haylacha, it must be I had a full kazayas by the kamitza, and I lost it before the haylacha or before the nesinas bekli. So therefore, I have a case now of shirayim, a case of shirayim that was chasa, bein kemitza, and haktara. And in that case, says Rava, the Mishnah says, you'd still be chayiv pigel. So you see, according to Rava, right? You see, according to Rava, that's Minah Minala, since Reb Chia did not learn the case of Kizayis Mishirecha, because if it was speaking, that was the only game left in town, you wouldn't have been able to learn Halacha and Sinas Bekli. It must be speaking in a case where you had a full Kaimitz B'Shas, you had a full Isar and B'Shas, and it got lost afterwards. And therefore, he didn't learn the case of Kazayas. He didn't learn the case of Kazayas to teach us that din. Memela, what would the din be? What would the din be? The din would be if I go ahead and do a kamitza and it was full, and then afterwards it's missing. At that point, afterwards it's missing, right? You can do the halacha, this and everything, right? Of kazayas, of chutz from that. Now, why did he learn the case of why did he mention the case of kazayas? Because he wanted to be consistent. Just like the second case can't be speaking about only Kazayas, the first case can't be speaking only Kazayas. So therefore, just like the second case is speaking where I had a whole bunch and I took a Kazayas from it, so to the Resha is speaking where I had a whole bunch and I took a Kazayas from it, where I had that Machshava and had Machshava. So therefore, that's Rav's Raya. That's Rav's Raya. Okay, that's why it's a lot of words, but I'm not so clear in that. Again, now comes along Abaya and says the following. Comes along Abaya says the following. You have no raya. It could be he's not even discussing the case of, he's not discussing this case of a Kazayas Mishireha. He's speaking of a Kazayas from the Koimitz. He's not speaking about leftover Shirayim. And in other words, in order to bring a raya, it has to be speaking about the case of, what's the case of I have leftover shirayim and I did a kmitza on that. It's not speaking about that. He's speaking about where the kaimitz is chasa. Rebbe Luz is of the opinion you can't learn the case of kazayas mikaimitz because there's no such animal. Rebbe Luz says, fellas, you have to burn the whole kaimitz. So therefore, Rebbe Luz he needs all by 1b. 1b. He needs all of this to be burnt. He's not even discussing 2b. Reb Chia is discussing, like Rava, Reb Chia is discussing 2b. Lechol Kizayas Mibshereha, and there's his raya. Says Abaya, he's not even discussing this. He's discussing another case. He's discussing, you know why you couldn't say Kizayas Mikaimitz? Because you have to burn the whole Kaimitz. So therefore, if it's according to Rebbe Laza, it's no raya whatsoever to what? To Rava. To Rava's din. It's no raya whatsoever to Rava's din. That's basically what we're discussing. Let's see it inside. Says the Gemara. Amar Rava, mina amina law. How do I know my din that if you did a zrika, fellas, even though I'm going on shirayim that are chaser, that it helps to take off to create pigel? Because our Mishnah says in that case it's pigel. In other words, guys, we have to fit in. The Mishnah says a case of pigel. Rav is going to say that case in our Mishnah is speaking about a haktorah of shirayim that was chaser. That's why the haktorah of a koimitz of shirayim that was chaser. Did nan. HaKoimitz says mincha lechol shireh b'chutz or kizayis m'shireh b'chutz. That's our Mishnah. Let me put it up here, okay? So good. This is our Mishnah. To burn a koimitz kizayis m'chutz or to eat a shireh kizayis b'chutz. V'tani Reb Chia learns HaKoimitz says mincha. He learns HaKoimitz mincha lel shireha v'leitani kizayis. He says the case is you do a kmitza on a mincha to eat its shirayim, not a kazayas of shirayim, but shirayim. My time tani oy kazayas. Why, guys, in this line did he not learn? Why did he not learn 2b? Guys, why did he not learn 2b? Kazayas mishireha. Lav kigoyin. It must be shechasru shirayim. It must be he's missing the shirayim. V'kamulu kazayas, and all you have left is the kazayas. V'kivin de matan kli behilach rabaktora loy masnila. Since you can't learn that there's only a kazayas left, behilach b'ktora, because if there was only kazayas left, that means your kamitza was on a sarin. Your kamitza was of a sarin was missing, so therefore it can't be speaking. There's only kazayas left over. Amit beis. Like kazayas shirayim b'kamitza nami lechal shirayim leitani like kazayas, and therefore he didn't learn by kamitza. Also, you couldn't learn it, guys. You couldn't learn it by over here the chart. You couldn't learn it in this case. I'm gonna ask this case. So since you didn't learn in this case, you didn't learn it in this case. The Ketani Seifa pigel b'chayav v'karis. Alma mahani le'aktara. We see aktara helps in a case where the shirayim is going to be missing, right? It helps, and that's my raya. Says the word loy. Says Abaye, you have no raya. Amalei Abaye loy. Hamani, who's the Tana of our Mishnah? It's Rebbe Eliezer. And why did Rebbe Eliezer learn that nan hakoimitz v'halavoina, the burning of the koimitz, the burning of lavoina, hakoimitz v'halavoina v'haktoras, and the Ketairis, Raktairis, Uminchas Kohanim, all these are burnt guys. Minchas Kos Mashiach, Uminchas Nesachim, Shehikiv Miachas Mehen Kezayis, Bachutz, Chayiv, Vichayiv HaKtorah Bachutz, and Memeli Vichayiv Machshava Befnim. Rabbi Lazar Paita, At Sheyakiv Es Kuloi, right? You have to be makar the whole thing. And keeping the Baktoras Kemitzo Le Masnila, Oy Kezayis Mikumza, Bachutz, Bishirayim Nami Le Masnila, Oy Kezayis. And since by Haktorah, guys, by Haktorah, Bachutz, you can't learn Kazayas because you need the whole thing. That's why you didn't learn it over here. So again, you know why Reb Chia did not learn it over here, Kazayas, guys? Nothing whatsoever to do with Shirayim. Everything to do with the burning of the kaimitz, guys. Everything, you have to burn the whole kaimitz. Just like you have to burn the whole Ketairis. You have to burn the whole thing. The reason you learn the Kazayas because it won't be true. So therefore, we're not discussing 2b. We're discussing 1b. We're discussing the burning of the kaimitz, not burning of something that was missing shirayim. Therefore, Reb Lezer needs to burn all of 1b, and Reb Chia is not dealing with 2b. So therefore, according to Abaye, it's not speaking about chesaron at all. Good? And Einachinami. Maybe when it's chaser, it would not be pigel. Maybe when it's chaser, it would not be pigel. I don't. Again, I like I said, I'm giving you the mechanics of the case. I'm not every pitch of God. I'm not exactly sure. Rashi made no sense to me, guys. If you look on your Gimel, this whole big thing on the bottom is the Rashbam. This whole big boich on the bottom over here is the Rashbam explaining this Gemara. Yeah, it's the Rashbam explaining this Gemara. So I could read it to you, but I don't know if you get a better understanding of it than we have right now. The bottom line is, right now, Abaye is saying you have no raya. Now Rav is going to have charata. Back in the Gemara. Says the Gemara. Ire Belaza, frag the Abaya. Frag Rav to Abaya. Ire Belaza, hai lahakter kumtza, lahakter kumtza levainosami boile. If it's speaking about burning ketairis, right? Burning bachutz, right? And you're learning din machshava, why are you limiting it to what? To the kaimitz, extend it to the levaina. That nan, ha-kaimitz, ha-levaina, shehikiv echem mehem bachutz. If you burn the kaimitz, this is speaking halabachutz, guys, and we're using it halabachutz when we chayiv machshava, right? Machshava inside. Ha-kaimitz ha-levaina, shehikiv echem mehem bachutz, chayiv. Rabbi Lezer poita, at shiak v'shneyam, you need both. Guys, like Rabbi Lezer, guys, in other words, Kishmak, guys, if you're discussing 1b, you'd have to add the word levina. You'd have to add the word levina. Take out the word kazayas, the reason it doesn't say that, and add the word levina, if it's Rebbe Lezer, and you didn't. It doesn't say levina. So therefore, it's fair to say, your upshlag is fair. Your upshlag that is speaking about burning the kaimitz, and because Rebbe Lezer, you have to burn the whole thing, not a kazayas. Like Rabbi Lawson, not only you have to burn the whole thing, you have to burn the levina as well, because it's two matirim. There's the matir, there's silas, the kaimitz of the silas, and the kaimitz of the levina. And since it doesn't say levina, it's mashma, it's not Rabbi Lawson. Says the Gemara, no. Like nitzucha el kaimitz the minchas chayta. Minchas chayta doesn't have levina, guys. And there's einachinami. You know why it doesn't say levina? Because it's speaking about the minchas of a chayta. Right? The Gemara, right? Is he going to be trouble himself so much? Tell me one little case. In? Come on, say yeah. Yeah, enachinami, yeah. Yeah. V'chein ki yasser avdimi, am Rebbe Lezer, kaimitz the minchas chayta, who? It's speaking minchas chayta of Rebbe Lezer, he. And therefore, it's speaking, the reason why Reb Chia left out kazayas, because it wouldn't be true like Rebbe Lezer. You need the full what? You need the full kaimitz, not a kazayas, but the full thing. I let Rebbe Lezer shvei levina. It's speaking of minchas chayta. There's no levina. But guys, here's the key. Once it's according to Rebbe Lezer and it's discussing the burning and the kazayas, burning the whole thing, a kazayas thing, it's not speaking at all about what the shirayim being missing and that and burning the kaimitz. And that's why you said kazayas, and therefore you have a raya according to Rava. That's not nishkan raya whatsoever, right? Since it's discussing a whole different animal, it's discussing 1b, not 2b, right? It's discussing the burning of the kaimitz, that there has to be what? The whole kaimitz, it can't be burning what? A kazayas of it, it's got to be the whole thing. So Mele has no bearing, according if it's Rebbe Lezer, it has no bearing on a shaila whatsoever. That's the Gemara. That's the Gemara. Now, Rav is going to change his mind, but for a different reason. Not because of Abaya's question. He's going to train again. Why did Rav say my reasoning was? He says, even like Rabbi Akiva, who says that even like Rabbi Akiva, well, even like Rabbi Laza, who would not allow it b'chutz, that's because it's b'chutz, but b'fnim, since it's a zrika b'fnim, he would agree that what? By Yoitza, it doesn't help because it's outside. But this is inside. Since this is inside, it would even help. That was Rav's time, right? Comes along Rav and says, now, comes along Rav and says, Kiyas Rav Dimi, Amr Rabbi Laza, Kaimitz the Minchas Chayt, okay, Rabbi Laza, and Rabbi Laza, he. Had Amar Rava, Rava now changes his mind. Lav Milsahi di Amri. What I said before is not true. What I said before, that even like Rebbe Laza, right, it would be a raya, that it would be a good haktara, the Indian taking off, Indian shafting pigel and taking off Mila, that is in fact not true. He's having charata now. He's having charata now. Hodam Rava, Lav Milsi the Amri, the Tanya. This is about the lechem upon him. We did this well. Kaidus Kadashim he. Right, it's mash, right? So it's Kodashim who. What does that mean? Who? Who means it, the whole thing. She'im nifrisa, if one of the lechem upon him breaks, achas mehem, one of them, then chalosecha kulam psulos. If you don't have 12, if you have 11, you have broken, it's not going to work. They're gone. They're all one thing. And therefore you're going to have to burn them, right? You have to burn them. Now, hay yatsa, it's mashma if it breaks. What happens if it goes out? What happens if one of the lechem panim goes out? Right? Then hani the ikka gavoy ksheros. The ones that are inside would be good. You hear this? If it breaks and you do the siluk bezichin, it's no good. If one of them goes outside and you do the siluk bezichin, it is good for the one outside. Good? Now, according to this, man shamalei da'ama zrika me'elis liyaitza. Who says Zurika helps for Yaitza? It's Rabbi Akiva. It's Rabbi Akiva. The Ka'amar Nifrisa, right? He said Dafka Nifrisa Loi. Guys, Nifrisa is the same thing as Chesarin. Nifrisa is the same thing as Chesarin, meaning if the lechem upon him broke, it's the same thing as missing something from the Shirayim. Again, on the lechem upon him, the bezichin is the kaimitz. The lechem aponim, guys, the shirayim. Fellas, this is important. The bezichin is the kaimitz. It's separate. The lechem aponim is shirayim, yes? And Rabbi Akiva said the following. If it breaks and you do the siluk, it's not good. If it's one is outside and you do the siluk, then the one's inside is good. So you see that the kamitza for the outside, right, helps for the inside. Masha Enkain, if it was inside and missing, it wouldn't help. So Rava says, my big thing, this chilik that a thing for inside would help, for what? For chesarin is not true. Rabbi Akiva is the one who says it helps. When does it help? It helps for outside. Why? Because its location, nothing changed. It's a whole lechem upon him here. It's a whole lechem upon him chutz li'azaret, but it's a whole lechem upon him. On the other hand, inside it's not a whole lechem upon him. On the inside, the shirayim is not a complete shirayim. So just like the siluk bezichin, for the lechem upon him when it breaks, it doesn't help. Who had din the kemitza and burning for the lechem upon for the shirayim that gets lost in between the kemitza and the haktara, it doesn't help for. So Rava changed his mind. Again, Rava's chilik was based upon what? Yaitza, inside is better than outside. We see that Rabbi Kiva, who's the one who's matter, says, no, inside is not better than outside. Because outside it does help if the nechem upon it is intact. Inside, when it's not intact, it's chesarin, it's like it's missing. It's like it's missing, it doesn't help. Said Rava, I changed my mind. Okay, again, just to be honest, I can't tell you I understood the I think you have the Gemara, the flow of the Gemara, the mechanics. That little pitch of I'm not clear on. I don't want to fool you. I'm not clear on exactly on the chart. That little prod over there. I don't know. I'm not sure I understood it better 30 years ago either. But again, it's who knows. But as they say, We'll get back to it 7.5 years from now, B'ez Hashem. There's all the Levin. Okay, so now we have a very good raya that Rabbi changed his mind. Amalei Abaya. Rabbi says to Abaya, he wants to be doicha his kasha. Mi ketani, he yatzas. Does it say that what? That one of the chalas goes out, it's kasha. Dilma, maybe, it's speaking. Hadnitmes. It doesn't say anywhere it goes out. Guys, we just need something opposed to breaking. There are other pasulim besides yois. We need to, nifrasa, if it breaks, is one thing. Mashma, something else. Mashma, something else. It would be a good. It's dafka inside breaking is no good. Outside, it is good. Because why? Because you could eat the other 11 if it's outside. Guys, what happens if I can tell you a psul that's inside? Then you wouldn't have a raya. Says the Gemara, Dilma, maybe it's speaking. We can make a diak in the baisa. Hadnit mace. Let's say one of the lechem and panim became tameh, right? Then the rest of the chalas are kasha. My timer. That's the reason. The meratza tzitz, because the tzitz is meratza. Aval yatza loy. But maybe if it went outside, it wouldn't be good. Rebbe Lezahi. The Amar ein zrika me'elis liyatza. Uriah is predicated upon Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva says zrika helps. Guys, this is lumdis, beautiful lumdis. Rabbi Akiva says zrika helps. What does it help for? It helps for when it's outside. Oh, outside it helps, but for inside it doesn't help. Good. Maybe 1 second. Maybe it's not Rabbi Akiva. Maybe it's Rabbi Elazar. And Rabbi Elazar is of the opinion that what? That outside it wouldn't help. Inside it would help. But why would it help? Special din. It became tameh. Oh, so you have a good raya. If it became tameh and you did a srika inside, it helps, right? I l'chayra, you're doing a srika side for chesarin. No, you know why it helps inside? Because of the tzitz. The tzitz is maratza. So therefore, the whole teretz that you, Rava, want to say that what we have it, that I'm changing my mind. Your raya is not a raya. You could change your mind again. But that raya you want to bring is not a raya. Why was your raya predicated upon? A srika for outside helps, but mele won't help inside. 1 second. It could be srika outside doesn't help. And then you have the raya. I srika inside does help over here because the speaking became tameh. It became tameh. It's the tzitz that's maratza. But enochinami, it wouldn't help at all. So your raya is not a raya. So aval yotza loy. If it goes outside, it wouldn't help. If it went outside, it would not help your srika. And therefore your raya that you wanted to bring is not a raya. For Rebbe Lazahi, the Amar, ein srika ma'elis l'yaitza. Srika doesn't help for yaitza. And Rabbi adds on, ubedinu di boile lemisnei nami yatzas. Really should have included yatzas that it doesn't help. It doesn't help, it's puzzle. V'haidik tani nifrisa, why do you say, in other words, guys, it won't help for nifrisa, it won't help for yatza either. It won't help at all. Because I hold that what? It doesn't, that zrika doesn't help for yaitza, huadin kmitza doesn't help for yaitza. V'haidik tani nifrisa, hakamash v'lon, that filu nifrisa, even when it breaks, the isya bifnim, it's still inside, loy mahani loy haktara, it doesn't help. Aval Rabbi Akiva, the amash zrika me'elis liyaitza, she'afilu chesar nami mahani loy haktara. Ken zayin, that loy Rabbi Akiva, it would help. Ken zayin, in other words, basically he's telling Rava, your raya that you want to say that it doesn't help, it really, you have no raya. Taka could help, I'm not sure. What would the raya be? The raya would be the following. You want to say the following. If it goes outside, then if it breaks inside, it's no good. If it goes outside, it is good. Who's the one who says goes outside is good? It's Rabbi Akiva. And so same Rabbi Akiva who says outside is good, holds inside chesarin's no good. Says Abaya, I could tell you that it's Rebbe Laza. I could tell you it's Rebbe Laza. Outside's no good also. Outside is no good also. Srika doesn't have outside. And outside, inside, and therefore, if you hold outside is no good, inside's also no good. What's your diak? Dafka, because because it's missing its puzzle, and maybe not because it's outside and inside. There's nothing to do with that. It has to do with maybe even inside it would be okay. Why? It's speaking where it became tameh. If it became tameh, and I have the tzitz, the mimaratza. But Enoch Nami has nothing to do with what with chesaron inside or outside, because Rika doesn't help by neither. It doesn't help. Over here, it's helping because of the tzitz. Now, like Rabbi Akiva, therefore, according to Rabbi Akiva, that it does help for outside, could be chesaron does help inside also. It could be. In other words, and therefore you don't have to have charata, because the reason it doesn't help outside because it's outside, but this is inside. Could be it does help, but we weren't speaking about outside at all. We were speaking about inside when it's tamei. But Enochanami, like Rabbi Lazar, outside wouldn't be good. So therefore, Abaye says to Rava, the raya that you wanted to bring to have charata is nishkan raya. A very hard Gemara, guys. Okay, we'll see you Be'ez Hashem at Shabbos. This week's Parsha, fella, is the most famous Ramban in the Torah. Most famous Ramban in the Torah. At the end of Parshas Bo, I do it every year with you before Pesach. Take a look at it. The Ramban explains the reasons for many mitzvahs. He explains that in Mitzrayim, there were three dragas. I'm going to give you very quickly. There were three madregas in Mitzrayim. There were those who believed that the world came before Hashem. That's the concept of kadmus, that the world came before Hashem. So therefore, if you believe that, you're kaifa be'ikah, because you're denying that Hashem created everything. There's ones who said HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the world. They admit Hashem created the world, but he doesn't know what's going on in the world. And then there's ones who say, he knows what is going on in the world, but he's not involved in every single pitch of hashgacha pratius. So what happened is that HaKadosh Baruch Hu went ahead and he did these nisim in Mitzrayim. He did these nisim. He's Mishana Teva. By being Mishana Teva, it shows he has total control of the Bria. Because if he didn't create the Bria, then he wouldn't have total control. By being Mishana Teva, he's showing that there's nothing beyond his control. And it disproved those 3 days, the day of Kadmas, of Yediyah, and Hashgacha Pratius. Says the Ramban, and therefore, since a Navi prophesies that it's going to happen, it also substantiated the concept of Nevuah, and also gave credence to the Torah is true. Moshe emes Sarasa yemes. Why? Because Moshe is the one who told us the Torah. And we see that HaKadosh Baruch Hu spoke to Moshe. He spoke to Moshe because Moshe went ahead and said what's going to happen, and it did happen. So therefore, Nevuah is not just a cool thing. Nevuah is a yesod of bitachon in the Torah, that Moshe emes Sarasa yemes. He goes, and that's the reason for all the mitzvahs Yitzias Mitzrayim. Hashem is only going to go ahead and show himself once. I was thinking today, isn't it amazing that Hashem showed himself to the world? It would seem to be almost against what Hashem wants from us. We have the idea of Bechira. We have Bechira Chavshis. Right? We have Bechira Chavshis. And the fact that Hashem went ahead and revealed himself to us, that would apparently take away the Bechira. The Dardeya, obviously it didn't because they were Chayta. But again, to me, it's an unbelievable idea that Hashem revealed himself to the world, that there was no question at that point in time that there was a Rabbeinu Shlomo. We have belief, we have emunah, but then they didn't, right? And since Hashem did this once and he's never going to do it again, it's our job to go ahead and repeat it and remember it generation to generation to generation to generation. And that's the reason for all the mitzvahs we have associated with Siyas Mitzrayim. If you go look at the end of Parshas Bo, before Matan Torah, guys, how many mitzvahs you have before Matan Torah? Right? Chometz, Shvius Etzem, all these things are right because of Hitzah, counting in, being all the halachas of Korban Pesach is all to go ahead and Chometz, all these that go ahead and strengthen our not our belief, to strengthen the need to go ahead and pass it on from generation to generation, that there was a mitzvah Yisrael, there was a makas, everything. And that's exactly what all these mitzvahs are. A mezuzah, mitzvahs Mitzrayim, tefillin mitzvahs Mitzrayim, Kriya Shema, midaraisa. All these things Rabban said, all these reasons is to go ahead and transport from generation the idea that there was a Rabbeinu Shalom who could reveal himself to the world, and there's no question. And that's, again, here we are thousands of years later, so obviously there was success in that. But I think it's the most famous Ramban in the Torah and the Parshas Bo. It's a beautiful one to go through, especially the Shabbos table. If you have kids around it, it's a tremendous thing. Have a good Shabbos.